Okay, so in the last episode, we talked about the New York classic Pull It by Cameron featuring DMX. Now let's dive into another standout track, and the track is called Losin Weight from Cameron's sophomore album SDE. Now I produced 12 tracks on that project, including Let Me Know, Double Up featuring Joel Santana, Where I'm From featuring Dutch and Spade, but Losin Weight featuring Prodigy of Mobb Deep is the one that truly stood the test of time.
I know you're gonna dig this. I know you're gonna dig this. I know you're gonna dig this.
I remember we recorded that track at Soundtrack Studios in New York City, but before we even hit the studio, I remember Cam, riding around with my boy Rich Salt and Duke the God, and they pretty much played that beat for days, and just to help Cam develop some lyrics for the joint. We never really had a debate about which beats to use. It all came together pretty much naturally for the most part. And with Losin Weight, the vibe was undeniable from the start. We knew this one would tear up the streets, but we also knew exactly who to bring on board to make this even more iconic. And that was Prodigy of Mobb Deep.
Around, y'all. It's going down, y'all.
I found this sample in my Uncle Doc Wheeler's record collection. He used to have all the popular R&B albums from the 70s and the 80s. I honestly didn't like digging for samples from popular artists because I knew it would increase the chances of someone else using the same thing. But I went and took a stash out of his record collection anyway. After going through a few records, I landed on this Teddy Pendergrass album. I thought it would be filled with a bunch of slow jams and disco songs, and my suspicions were true. But the piano intro, Don't Leave Me Out Alone on the Road, instantly caught my attention. It was slow, so I did my turntable trick, which was to play the record at 45 RPMs. Then, I just threw it into the MPC, tweaked the tempo a tad bit, which gave me the feeling I knew somebody could rap to. With a loop like this, less is more. All I needed to do was just add some hard-hitting drums that would enhance the piano loop. Most producers have their favorite kicking skill that they usually start with. I immediately went to those and it worked. I went to the Roland JV2080 to choose a bass sound that would reinforce the bass line. I just replayed the same note. And of course, I needed to add my special sauce, which was some type of change up to create some tension. I found a different part from the same sample and played around with it till I found something that sounded right. That was it, and the rest is history.
Like I'm losing weight. Well, I ain't got no money if I'm moving weight. My life makes a call, what I'ma do today? Why I can't move away? Just looting me without the scrutiny. Niggas screwing me, 2 and 3, truant C's. 4 shots, 1 Thule G.
Now, I know y'all gonna dig this. Like most of us, we were all huge fans of Mobb Deep, so when the opportunity came to collaborate, we knew we was on to doing something real perfect at that moment. We had a solid relationship with Chris Lighty, who was managing Mobb Deep at the time, and our paths had crossed plenty of times before that. So finally, we get Prodigy in the studio to work on Losin Weight. I remember the first day he came to Soundtrack Studio. He showed up by himself. He was super chill, super laid back, no problems. Maybe after about 4 or 5 hours of listening to the beat and writing, he came into the lounge and said he'll be back tomorrow. No big deal, cool. But the crazy part was, he did this every day for about 2 weeks. So we were getting frustrated, but not because he was taking his time, but because he didn't let us hear a single word of what he was writing the whole entire 2 weeks. But then one night, we were all sleeping in the lounge. P walks in and says he was ready to record. So we all rushed back into the control room. The engineer cues up the beat, and we are all eager to hear what he, pretty much what he came up with. The beat starts, the engineer hits the record button, and all we heard was, gather around, y'all. It's going down, y'all. And the whole room went crazy and wild, yo. And after that, we knew he had something special right then and there. Yo, so that concludes this week's episode of I Know You're Gonna Dig This. But be sure to check out next week's episode where we discuss some interesting stories behind some of my favorite productions. Peace.